The engine was still running. The meter was still ticking. But the driver? Gone. Vanished into a Singapore rainstorm, leaving behind only his slippers, his half-eaten dinner, and his identity card lying on the seat, as if he'd been erased from his own life. It's 1998. Rain lashes against the windows of a yellow Toyota Crown taxi, parked crookedly near a quiet Singaporean reservoir. Engine running, headlights on, but inside no one. The driver's seat is empty. A half-eaten meal sits on the dashboard, and the only trace of the man who should be there? His slippers, neatly placed by the door. This isn't a scene from a movie. This is where Mr. Chua Meng Ka vanished, and where a 25-year mystery begins. Before he became a mystery, Chua Meng Ka was a man of small, steadfast rhythms. Picture him, 63 years old, thin-rimmed glasses, a gentle smile that crinkled at the corners. By day, he was a Kong, grandpa to his grandchildren. He'd save coins in an old biscuit tin to buy them ice cream after school. By night, he drove taxi SH 2880 for comfort, a job he'd done for over a decade. Rain or shine, his shift started at 6 p.m. sharp. Neighbors knew him as the man who'd wave from his window, always on time, always reliable. His family called him their rock, because that's what he was. Steady, unshakable. But there's a detail that aches when you know how this ends: his taxi seat. Worn smooth in one spot. Year after year, he'd sit in that same groove, driving the quiet streets of Singapore's night shift. He knew which capitiums stayed open late, which shortcuts avoided construction. He'd even pack a towel to wipe down the back seat between fares. This wasn't just a job. It was his routine, his pride. And on June 13th, 1998, he left for work like always, kissed his wife goodbye, tucked his identity card into his shirt pocket. "Don't forget your supper," she might have said. He never did. He'd park near Yishun Dam most nights, unwrap his nasi lemak, watch the reservoir's dark water ripple under the streetlights. Just another quiet moment in a quiet life. Until it wasn't, because that night, the rock crumbled, and the man who always came home vanished into thin air. It started like any other Saturday night. June 13th, 1998, 9 p.m. Chua Meng Ka parks his yellow comfort taxi, license plate SH 2880, at his usual spot near Yishun Dam. This was his routine. After hours of driving passengers across Singapore's quieting streets, he'd pull over here, unwind, eat his supper. Tonight, like most nights, it's nasi lemak, coconut rice, sambal chili, a fried egg, maybe some ikan bilis, crispy anchovies. He bought it wrapped in brown paper and banana leaf from a stall he trusted. The rain is coming down now, gentle at first, tapping on the taxi roof. He's alone. The reservoir water is dark and still beyond the road. He settles into the driver's seat. Engine off. The familiar smell of his food fills the cabin. This is his quiet time, his moment of peace before the late shift pushes on towards midnight. He eats, listens to the rain, thinks of home. Nothing feels wrong. Nothing feels out of place. This is just another night. 9:15 p.m. He finishes eating. Or at least, he eats some of it. The meal is half finished. We know this because it's found later, sitting right there on the dashboard. He wipes his hands, maybe sips water from his flask. The rain is heavier now, a proper Singapore downpour. It drums against the windshield, blurring the world outside. He's dry inside his taxi. Safe. He likely checks his watch. Time to move. Fares to pick up. Money to earn. He starts the engine. The familiar rumble. He flicks on the headlights. Two beams cutting through the rain and the darkness. He shifts into drive. Taxi SH 2880 pulls away from Yishun Dam. He turns left onto Sealtar West Link. This is the last time anyone can say for certain that Chua Meng Ka is alive, conscious, and in control of his taxi. He drives down that wet road, just 500 meters, less than a minute's drive, heading towards the lower Sealtar Reservoir Park area. What happens in those next moments? In that short drive, in that pouring rain, this is the void, the unknown space where a man vanishes. 10:30 p.m. The rain is still falling. A comfort taxi supervisor, doing his rounds, spots a yellow Crown cab parked awkwardly near the lower Sealtar Reservoir car park. It's not in a proper bay. It's just stopped, pointed towards the water. The engine is running. The headlights are blazing. The windscreen wipers are swishing back and forth, useless against the torrential rain. It's Chua's taxi, SH 2880. The supervisor approaches. He peers inside. The driver's seat is empty. No one is in the back. The taxi is idling, running for no one. He opens the driver's door. The scene inside is chillingly ordinary, yet utterly wrong. First, the keys. They're still in the ignition, turned to the on position. The engine humming. Second, the meter. It's still ticking, still counting the fare, waiting for a passenger who isn't there. Third, the radio. It's on, crackling softly with dispatcher calls. Other drivers talking about their night. Life carrying on. Fourth, his wallet. It's right there, on the front passenger seat. Untouched. Inside is cash. Not a huge amount, but enough. Enough that a thief would surely have taken it. But it's just sitting there, unharmed. Fifth, his supper. That half-eaten packet of nasi lemak. Still on the dashboard where he left it. Cold now. And then, the slippers. Chua always drove in slippers. Comfortable for long hours. They're found neatly placed, side by side, on the floor mat just inside the driver's door. As if he'd stepped out of them carefully, intending to step right back in. But he didn't. The supervisor looks around, calls out, "Mr. Chua?" Only the rain answers. He checks the immediate area. No sign of a struggle inside the taxi. No blood. Nothing broken. No signs of a fight. Outside, the ground is wet mud and grass. It should show footprints, especially if someone ran, or if someone was dragged. But there's nothing. No deep gouges. No scuff marks. No trail of footprints leading away from the taxi door. And critically, no footprints leading down the slight slope towards the dark, churning waters of the lower Sealtar Reservoir just meters away. It's as if the driver simply evaporated from the seat. But there's one more detail, the most chilling detail of all, found lying on the driver's seat itself. Not in his wallet, not in his pocket, just sitting there, plain as day. His national registration identity card, his NRIC, in Singapore. Your NRIC isn't just a card. It's your life, your identity, your access to everything. You guard it fiercely. You never leave it behind. Losing it is a major problem. It's linked to your home, your job, your bank account, your very existence in the system. For Chua Meng Ka, a meticulous, routine-driven man, to leave his NRIC lying openly on the seat of his still-running taxi? It's unthinkable. It's like leaving your soul behind. It screams that something terrible, something profoundly wrong, happened in those few minutes between leaving Yishuan Dam and arriving at this lonely spot by the reservoir. Something that prevented him from even grabbing this most essential piece of himself. Think about it. Engine running, headlights on, wipers working, meter ticking, radio chattering, wallet with money, untouched, half-eaten supper, slippers neatly placed, NRIC abandoned on the seat, no signs of a fight, no footprints in the mud, no trail to the water, just a taxi humming to itself in the pouring rain, waiting for a driver who will never return. Where did he go? What force, or what person, could make a careful man vanish so completely, so instantly, leaving behind everything that anchored him to his life and his world? In 90 minutes, a rock-solid grandfather, a man defined by routine and responsibility, disappears from the face of the earth. The rain washes away any trace. The night swallows him whole, and all that's left is a running ghost cab, and questions that echo louder than the engine ever could. At first, Chua Meng Ka's disappearance felt like a terrible, isolated tragedy, a freak accident, a mystery with no answers. His family prayed. The police searched. Singapore moved on. But then something shifted. Just months after Chua vanished, whispers started, murmurs in taxi queues, nervous glances in rearview mirrors. Stories passed between drivers over late-night coffees. Stories that sounded familiar. Too familiar. It began quietly. August 1998, 2 months after Chua disappeared. A comfort taxi driver picks up a fare in Geylang. 2 young men. They ask to go to a quiet park in Hogang. Halfway there, one pulls a knife. They force the driver out of his cab. Rob him. Take his money. Leave him shaken but alive by the roadside. He reports it. Police file a report. Another robbery. Nothing connects it to Chua. Not yet. Then, October 1998, 4 months after Chua, another driver, night shift, picks up 3 men near Orchard Road. They ask to go to Pasir Ris Park. Isolated spot. As they drive, one man suddenly chokes him from the back seat, a wire around his neck. He fights, struggles, manages to crash the taxi into a tree. The attackers flee. He survives. Barely. He tells police they were young, local, cold. November 1998. 5 months after Chua, a yellow-top taxi driver doesn't come home. His wife reports him missing. The next morning, his cab is found abandoned in a West Coast industrial estate. Engine cold, driver's door wide open. His wallet is gone. His identity card is gone. But his glasses are found on the floor. Smashed. A small smear of blood on the steering wheel. He is never seen again. The pattern was chilling. Taxi drivers, targeted at night, often lured to quiet. Dark places, parks, reservoirs, industrial zones. Robbed, assaulted, sometimes vanished. Just like Chua, by early 1999. The police couldn't ignore it. This wasn't random. This was a pattern, a deliberate campaign. They confirmed at least 7 brutal attacks on taxi drivers across Singapore between August 1998 and March 1999, all within just 8 months of Chua Meng Ka stepping out of his taxi near Lower Sealtar Reservoir. The similarities were terrifying. Drivers forced to isolated locations. Sudden violence, knives, wires, fists, robberies for cash, wallets, sometimes the whole taxi, and the disappearances. Men gone without a trace. Panic spread. Taxi drivers installed makeshift weapons under seats. They avoided parks, forests, anywhere dark. They double-checked every passenger. Families begged them to quit night shifts. The trust was broken. The safety of the familiar yellow cab felt like an illusion. The police launched Operation Night Watch. They flooded high-risk areas with plainclothes officers. They set up stings, used decoy taxis, watched and waited. Finally, a break. March 1999, 9 months after Chua vanished. A gang strikes again, targeting a taxi near Sembawang Park. But this time, police are ready. A chase, a struggle, arrests. They caught them, a group of young men, teenagers and men in their early 20s. Local, they confessed, freely, bragged, even. They admitted to at least 5 of the brutal robberies. The violence, the fear they caused. For a moment, Chua's family dared to hope. This is it. They must have thought. They know something. They know where he is. They know what happened. The police questioned the gang relentlessly. About every attack, every detail, every victim. But when it came to Chua Meng Ka, nothing. Blank stares, denials, confusion. The gang admitted their crimes. They described locations, victims, methods. But Chua's name? His taxi? That night by the reservoir? They knew nothing. They had no connection. No alibi needed because they simply weren't there. The evidence was clear. Their reign of terror started after Chua vanished. Their methods, while brutal, didn't match the eerie, almost ghostly scene at Lower Sealtar Reservoir. They left victims robbed, injured, sometimes dead, but they didn't leave engines running. They didn't leave untouched wallets or identity cards on seats. They didn't leave slippers neatly placed. They took things. They left chaos. Chua's scene was different. Quiet, orderly, haunting. The gang was convicted, sentenced to long prison terms. Operation Night Watch was hailed a success. The attack stopped. But for Chua's family, it was a crushing blow. The most promising lead, the terrifying pattern that seemed to offer an answer, led nowhere. The police had caught the monsters stalking Singapore's taxi drivers. But they hadn't caught the ghost who took Chua Meng Ka. The haunting question grew louder, heavier. If it wasn't this gang, then who? What? Was Chua Meng Ka their first? Unreported victim? Did they learn their cruel trade on him? Did something go wrong that rainy night, making them hide it better next time? Or was his disappearance something else entirely? Something personal? Something accidental? Something darker and more inexplicable than a simple robbery gone wrong? The solved crimes cast a longer, deeper shadow over Chua's unsolved mystery. They proved danger was real. They proved monsters walked among the taxi queues. But they proved nothing about the man who vanished into the rain, leaving his soul behind on the driver's seat. The pattern was there. The answers were not. Only the echo of that running engine. And the chilling silence that followed when it was finally turned off. In the weeks and months after June 13th, 1998, hope was a fragile thing for the Chua family. It flickered like a candle in a draft. They held on to it tightly. Surely, someone saw something. Surely, the police would find a clue. Surely, Mr. Chua would walk back through their door. tired from a long shift, asking about supper. But days bled into weeks, weeks into months, months into a year, and nothing. No trace, no answers, just silence. The police did what they could. They treated it as a potential crime scene from the start. Divers plunged into the murky, cold waters of Lower Sealtar Reservoir. They swept the bottom with nets and lights, searching for anything, a piece of clothing, a watch, a body. They found old bicycles, discarded rubbish, mud, but nothing of Chua Meng Ka. They combed the surrounding parkland, pushed through thick undergrowth, checked drains and ditches. Nothing. They interviewed everyone, his fellow taxi drivers, his neighbors, the stallholder who sold him his last nasi lemak. Did he seem worried? Stressed? Did he mention any problems? Any strange passengers? The answer was always the same, no. He was fine. He was normal. He was just Chua. The family became detectives of their own despair. His son, Chua Soon Ki, couldn't accept the void. Almost every single day, he went back to that spot by the reservoir where his father's taxi was found. He would stand there, staring at the water, staring at the empty parking space. And then he would scream. He would scream his father's name into the stillness. Pa, Pa, where are you? He screamed until his voice was raw, screamed at the water, the trees, the indifferent sky, begging for an echo that never came. It was a ritual of agony, a son trying to shatter the silence that had swallowed his father. His wife, Madame Ong Li Chan, turned inwards, to faith, to the ancestors. She visited temples, big ones, small ones, hidden ones. She lit joss sticks, their fragrant smoke curling towards the heavens like unanswered prayers. She knelt before statues of Guanyin, the goddess of mercy. She clasped her hands, her knuckles white, whispering pleas for a miracle. Bring him back. She'd murmur, just let us know. Just let us find him. Please. She made offerings. Fruit, tea, paper money burned for his journey, wherever he was. She consulted mediums, men and women who claimed to speak to the spirit world. They gave her glimpses, fragments. He's near water. He's confused. He wants to come home. Vague whispers that offered no real direction, only deepening the fog of mystery. Each session ended the same way: tears, exhaustion, and the crushing weight of not knowing if it was real or just cruel hope. The police tip lines rang, and rang, and rang. People called from all over Singapore. A man claimed he saw Mr. Chua arguing with someone near the reservoir that night. Another said he saw him getting into a different car. Someone else swore they saw him walking, dazed, along a distant highway weeks later. Each call was a spark. The family's hearts would leap. Police would rush to investigate. They'd check CCTV, where it existed then. They'd interview the caller again. They'd search the new location. And every single time, without fail, the lead would fizzle out. A case of mistaken identity, a confused memory. Sometimes, sadly, just someone seeking attention. Dead end, dead end, dead end. The constant cycle of hope raised and hope destroyed became its own special kind of torture. Years passed. The initial intense search scaled down. The police file, once thick with urgency, grew dusty. Life, as it cruelly does, moved forward for the world outside. Singapore grew, changed, built new things. But for the Chua family, time was frozen on that rainy night in June 1998. They were trapped in the waiting room of grief, unable to move forward because they couldn't properly say goodbye. How do you mourn someone who isn't confirmed dead? How do you hold a funeral with no body? How do you find closure when the central question, what happened, hangs in the air, unanswered, every single day? They couldn't declare him dead officially for many years, not without evidence. So, legally, he was just missing, a ghost in the system. His bank accounts remained untouched, frozen in time. His belongings stayed exactly where he left them, his spare glasses by the bed, his favorite mug in the cupboard. His wife couldn't bring herself to move them. To pack them away felt like admitting he was never coming back. And she couldn't admit that. Not without proof. Not without seeing him one last time. The grandchildren grew up knowing Grandpa only through stories and a single, fading photograph. They knew he vanished. They knew it made their parents and grandmother very sad. But they couldn't truly understand the hollow space he left. The constant ache of the unknown. The family stopped talking about him as much to outsiders. The pain was too deep, too private. The constant questions from well-meaning friends. Any news? Became like knives. They learned to deflect, to smile sadly, to change the subject. The grief became a heavy coat they wore silently. Every day, even today, decades later, the wound is raw. In rare interviews, his daughter's voice still cracks. It wavers. The simple sentence carries the weight of 25 years of longing. We just want to bury him. That's all. Not revenge. Not complicated answers. Just the basic human need to lay their husband, their father, their grandfather, to rest, to know where he is, to visit him, to place flowers on a grave and speak to him properly, to perform the rituals that bring peace to the living as much as to the departed. But without a body, without even a single piece of evidence telling them what happened, it's impossible. How do you mourn a ghost? You can't. You live with the ghost. You carry the ghost. You wake up with it. You eat with it. You go to bed with it. The empty chair at the dinner table isn't just empty. It's a question mark, a silent scream, a wound that never scabs over because it can never be cleaned and closed. The reservoir water still laps at the shore. The trees near Ishuan Dam still rustle in the wind. The spot where taxi SH-2880 idled that night looks almost ordinary now. But for the Chua family, that ordinary spot is the epicenter of a lifelong earthquake. The ground gave way beneath them that night, swallowing their anchor, their rock, and they've been falling ever since, into a void filled only with echoes of his name and the unbearable, echoing silence of a question that may never have an answer. What happened to Mr. Chua Meng Ka? The agony isn't just in the loss. It's in the not knowing. It's in the relentless, grinding uncertainty that steals peace and replaces it with a quiet, endless torment. They are prisoners of the night he vanished, forever waiting for a dawn that never breaks. 25 years, countless hours of police work, a family's endless search. Yet Mr. Chua Meng Ka remains missing, with no body, no confession, and no smoking gun. We're left staring at the same haunting scene, a taxi running in the rain, its driver gone. To make sense of it, we must carefully weigh the possibilities. What could explain such a complete, silent vanishing? Let's look at the theories, one by one, holding each up against the stubborn facts. Theory 1, a botched robbery. This seems obvious. Taxi drivers face risks. Someone flags him down after he leaves Ishuan Dam, forces him to drive that short distance to the reservoir, demands money. Things turn violent. He's overpowered, taken or worse. But the facts push back. Why was his wallet, with cash inside, left untouched on the passenger seat? A robber takes the money. It's the whole point. Why leave the keys in the ignition? Why leave the taxi running? A fleeing criminal switches it off, hides it, or steals it. And crucially, why leave his NRIC card, worthless to a thief, lying openly on the driver's seat? If it was a robbery, it was the strangest, most inefficient one imaginable. They took nothing except him. Theory 2, a medical crisis. Could something sudden have happened to him? A stroke? A heart attack? Severe disorientation? Maybe he felt ill after eating, pulled over in a panic, stumbled out, and collapsed somewhere unseen. The facts resist this too. His health records, checked thoroughly, showed no major issues, no history of heart problems, strokes, or dementia. He was 63, but active and fit for his job. If he felt suddenly ill, why drive 500 meters away from the well-lit dam area to a darker, more isolated spot? Why leave the engine running, the headlights blazing? Why place his slippers neatly by the door? Wouldn't someone in medical distress just stumble out? And where did his body go? Searches covered the land and water intensely. No trace. A medical event explains vanishing from the scene, but not vanishing completely. Theory 3, a personal attack. Was it someone he knew? An old grudge? A targeted act? Maybe someone waited for him, confronted him. The facts offer little support. Everyone who knew Chua Meng Ka, family, friends, colleagues, neighbors described him the same way: quiet, gentle, reliable, conflict-averse. No known enemies, no debts, no shady dealings, no whispers of trouble in his personal life. His routine was open, predictable. There were no threatening letters, no strange phone calls before his disappearance. The idea of a personal vendetta fits the drama of crime stories, but it simply doesn't connect to the man everyone described, or the scene left behind. Why leave the taxi running? Why leave his ID? Why no signs of a struggle anywhere? Theory 4, an accident by the water. This is the theory many lean towards first. He pulled over, Maybe he felt sick. Maybe he needed fresh air. He stepped out near the reservoir's edge, slipped on the wet grass, fell in, drowned. The current or depth hit his body. The scene details make this deeply puzzling. He placed his slippers neatly inside the taxi, on the mat. This strongly suggests he intended to step back into them. People who feel sick or step out for air don't neatly remove their footwear inside the cab first. They just step out. Furthermore, the ground was wet mud. If he walked towards the water, even a few steps, he would have left footprints. Police found none. Zero. No scuffs. No slides. No indication anyone walked towards the reservoir edge from that taxi. Divers searched extensively. Nothing. The water theory is hauntingly plausible. Yet the physical evidence, the slippers, the lack of footprints, stands stubbornly against it. Theory 5, a deliberate disappearance. This is the unspoken theory. The one whispered about, but rarely said aloud to the family. Did he choose to vanish? Stage the scene? Walk away from his life? The abandoned ID, his soul, could be a signal. The running engine, a decoy. The slippers placed neatly, a final act of order. His family's reaction is immediate, fierce, and grounded in the man they knew. He'd never abandon us. Look at his life, a devoted grandfather saving coins for ice cream, a reliable husband kissing his wife goodbye, a meticulous worker wiping down his taxi seat. His whole identity was built on responsibility, routine, and family. He had no secret debts, no known double life, no history of instability. The night he vanished, he was heading back to work after supper. He left no note, took no money, said no goodbye. To stage such an elaborate, cruel vanishing act, leaving his loved ones in decades of torment, is utterly contrary to everything Chua was. The deliberate disappearance theory requires us to believe a man defined by his steadiness suddenly became a master manipulator and inflicted unimaginable pain on those he cherished most. His family, who knew his heart, reject it absolutely. And the facts offer no hint of motive or preparation. So where does that leave us? Each theory hits a wall. Robbery leaves the valuables. Medical crisis leaves no body, contradicts his health and actions. Personal attack leaves no motive, no evidence of struggle. Water accident leaves no footprints, contradicts the slippers. Deliberate flight contradicts the man's entire character and his family's certainty. It's like trying to build a house with mismatched bricks. No single theory gives us a complete, sturdy structure that holds up under scrutiny. The scene by the reservoir presents a series of contradictions: order and abandonment, presence and utter absence, clues that lead nowhere. The running engine, the ticking meter, the untouched wallet, the placed slippers, the abandoned ID, each piece feels deliberate, yet collectively, they form an indecipherable code. Perhaps the answer lies in a combination: a sudden, unexpected medical sensation causing confusion, leading him to step out oddly, then an accident, an attempted robbery by an inexperienced, panicked assailant who fled after something went terribly wrong, leaving the scene bizarrely untouched. But these are just guesses, trying to bridge the gaps the evidence won't fill. The stubborn, chilling reality is this: the known facts of that night, the taxi's condition, the placed slippers, the missing footprints, the abandoned ID, create a picture that resists easy explanation. It suggests an event that was sudden, decisive, and left no trail. Something happened in those minutes between Ishuan Dam and Lower Sealtar Reservoir that erased Chua from the world as cleanly and mysteriously as wiping a slate. It defies the logic of robberies, accidents, illnesses, or choices. Every path we walk down ends at the same dark wall. The theories don't solve the mystery. They only measure its depth. They show us how profoundly strange, how unsettlingly clean this vanishing truly was. The only undeniable fact is the result: a loving grandfather, a reliable man, stepped out of his taxi into a rainy night and became a ghost, leaving behind a running engine, a half-eaten meal, a pair of slippers, and silence. Singapore is known for many things: order, efficiency, safety. It's a place where things work, where systems hold, where streets are clean, laws are followed, and people feel secure walking home late at night. It's a point of pride, woven into the national fabric. But the disappearance of Chua is a whisper that cuts through that certainty. A crack in the smooth facade, a chilling reminder that no system, no matter how well designed, can completely shield us from the unknown. That even in a city watched by countless cameras, patrolled by vigilant police, someone can simply vanish, without a sound, without a trace, without an answer. Think about that taxi, SH 2880, engine humming, headlights piercing the rain, parked neatly beside a busy road, near a popular reservoir, in a nation obsessed with security. Yet, within that small, ordinary space, something extraordinary and terrifying happened. A man ceased to exist, vanished into the humid Singapore night as completely as if he'd been plucked off the planet. The very ordinariness of the scene, the half-eaten meal, the running engine, the placed slippers, makes it more unsettling, not less. It happened here, in our backyard, on our watch. The shockwaves were immediate and profound. For taxi drivers, it wasn't just a news story, it was a personal nightmare. Suddenly, the familiar yellow cab felt like a cage. The quiet passenger in the back seat became a potential threat. The request for a ride to a secluded park wasn't just inconvenient. It was terrifying. Overnight, the trust inherent in the job evaporated. Drivers looked at every fare with suspicion. They avoided night shifts. They drove with one eye on the road and one on the rearview mirror, hearts pounding at every unexpected turn. The illusion of safety within their own workplace was shattered. The public felt it too. If a hardworking grandfather, a man doing an everyday job, could disappear so completely from a well-lit, accessible spot, then who was truly safe? It tapped into a primal fear, the fear of being erased, of leaving no mark, of becoming a question mark. Chua's case wasn't just about a missing person. It became a symbol of vulnerability in a place that prided itself on eliminating vulnerability. This palpable fear forced change. The outcry was too loud to ignore. Chua's vanishing, amplified by the later spate of taxi attacks, exposed glaring flaws. Taxis were rolling targets, isolated, vulnerable boxes on wheels. Drivers had little defense against a determined attacker. So, Singapore did what Singapore does. It adapted. It implemented solutions. Partitions thick, transparent barriers between driver and passenger became standard. A physical shield, panic buttons, silent alarms installed in taxis, directly linked to police dispatch. A lifeline at the driver's fingertips. Enhanced training, drivers taught situational awareness, defensive tactics, how to handle suspicious fares, better tracking, improved systems to monitor taxi locations, public awareness, campaigns urging drivers to trust their instincts and report anything strange. These changes made taxis safer. They likely prevented other tragedies. They were a direct, practical response to the terror Chua's disappearance unleashed. In that way, his vanishing left a tangible mark on the city. It made Singapore react. But here's the haunting part. While the systems changed, the central mystery remained. While new barriers went up in taxis, the barrier to understanding what happened to Chua Meng Ka stayed firmly in place. His police file, despite years of effort, tips, theories, and tears, never closed. It sits somewhere, a thick folder labeled Unsolved, pages filled with statements, diagrams, reports, and dead ends, gathering dust, waiting. That's why this case lingers. It's not just the fact of his disappearance. It's the nature of it, the sheer, baffling cleanliness, the lack of any satisfying narrative. No body, no culprit, no clear motive, no messy evidence, just a perfectly preserved, deeply unsettling scene, a running taxi, an untouched wallet, neatly placed slippers, an abandoned identity card, a vanishing act executed with impossible precision. It defies the Singaporean instinct for order and explanation. We solve problems. We find answers. We fix things. But Chua's case remains stubbornly, frustratingly unfixed. It's an open wound on the city's psyche, a reminder that logic has its limits, that darkness can seep through the cracks of even the brightest, most orderly places. Every few years, the story resurfaces, a newspaper article on the anniversary, a forum post wondering, whatever happened to, a chilling mention in a true crime discussion. Each time, it pricks the collective consciousness. People who weren't even born in 1998 hear about the running taxi, the slippers, the ID card, and feel a shiver. It becomes part of the city's folklore, a ghost story rooted in grim reality. For the authorities, it's an open file, a technicality. For true crime enthusiasts, it's a fascinating puzzle. But for Singapore itself, it's something deeper. It's a whisper of unease. a silent question mark hanging over the narrative of perfect security, a proof that the unknown still walks among us. The taxi petitions are normal now. The panic buttons are routine. The heightened awareness has faded into standard practice. The immediate fear subsided, but the echo of that idling engine by the reservoir? That hasn't faded. The image of those empty slippers? That hasn't faded. The chill of that abandoned identity card, a soul left behind? That hasn't faded. Because Chua Ka never came home. Because his family still waits. Because after all the changes, all the progress, all the years, we still don't know. And in a city built on knowing, on controlling, on solving, that not knowing is the deepest wound. That is why this quiet man's vanishing act still haunts the Lion City. It's the ghost in the machine of our perfect order. A silent testament to the mysteries that remain, stubbornly, terrifyingly, unsolved. 25 years later, that abandoned taxi still holds its secrets. The reservoir keeps them. And somewhere between the evidence and the echoes, Mr. Chua Ka became more than a missing person. He became a question mark stamped on Singapore's history. A reminder that some mysteries refuse to die, even when the world moves on. If you know anything, about what happened that rainy night in 1998, it's time to speak. For a family still waiting. For a man who deserves to come home.